Hello. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about the dark ambient label known as CRYO CHAMBER. I've got some of their logo, some of the paraphernalia they send in the mail when you buy their music. I even have one album, Miles to Midnight. It's a very dark noir ambient album. So in this episode, if you don't know anything about the label, I'll kind of just give you a quick overview. I think one way to start with that is by going through what I consider to be my top 5 artists of the label, or at least some artists to highlight. Before I get to my top 5, though, I want to give a shout out to Hoshin, Path of Dissolutions. This is one of the best albums. This came out in 2016. It's got some of the field recordings and a lot more, I guess, melodic. Just an awesome album. I wish he would have done more music for the label, because this is one of the best things that CRYO CHAMBER has. And by the way, this is a completely overlooked album in my opinion. I never hear anyone talking about it, but personally one of my favorites and one of the first things on the label that I really got into. Okay, that said, on to artist number 5. We'll get right into it. Dead Melodies. This guy is great. The Foundations of Ruin, very spooky. Something out of a scary horror movie, mysterious. Remnants of the Missing, great song, and pretty much sums up the album. Also, just already this year, he collaborated with Zen Jungle for this noirish album that's completely different from the Foundations of Ruin. It's got saxophone, trumpets. It's just a different style altogether. And then just a few months after that, he's back with the Master Plan, which is very dark and ominous, but in a completely different way from the Foundations of Ruin. And these are just 3 of his albums. He's got a couple more that I need to listen to even more. I'm a little overwhelmed with all of the good music on the label, so I'm still exploring all of the artists. Let's see, next up, I guess this would be number 4. We've got Alpha Zone from Iran. Dystopian Gate came out at the beginning of this year. The song A Profound Void, worth the price alone. As with Chronosphere, the song Parallel Destiny, worth the price alone. And the same with Edge of Solitude, Ocean Grooves. That song is worth the price alone. And these are just 3 albums that he's done. He's got plenty more music that, again, I would like to get into. Just almost overwhelmed with all of the good music on the label. So, artist number 3, God Body Disconnect. The Mist Between Mirrors, Sleeper's Fate, Dredge Portals. It's tough to know which one's my favorite because they're all equally awesome. They all start out sort of just suffocatingly bleak, but then they usually they go from that and they just drift into this just really awesome world that he's created. So God Body Disconnect's one of my favorites for sure. So here we are at the top 2, and these could flip-flop. I'm going to go with Mount Shrine, Shortwave Ruins, Ghosts on Broken Pavement, and Winter Restlessness. So you're talking 2018, 2019, 2020. He's already got 3 albums out. He's great. His whole vibe, he's not even dark, he's just got this good deep ambience with the sub-bass lines. Most people love Winter Restlessness the most, and I had it as my top album on the label in 2018. But Ghosts on Broken Pavement is just absolutely incredible for me. Underpass, Empty Slopes, Held Breeze. This is one of the best albums, period. If you can only buy 5 albums on the label, make sure you get this or one of the Mount Shrine albums. And then I guess my favorite artist, and I wish he would put something out soon, because he and Hoshin were big for me back in the beginning, but CRYO. He's got these 2 albums. He's my favorite artist. Low Down, Before the End, and then All I Had to Do might be my favorite song the label's ever had. Resurrection from the Dust, Consigned to Limbo. So many good tracks. CRYO, what an awesome artist. And he does some of the artwork as well. So those are the top 5. And then, again, this is just for my collection. I'll just kind of give a quick rundown. One thing, I don't have anything physical from Spheresex out of Germany, a 2-man project, but I did buy it, so it's in the computer. I just don't have any physical copies, but I should. So Spheresex, good band. Lesa Listvi, this just came out. Great album. They're from Russia. Familiar Landmarks will be a good one. They've got some melody for sure. Dahlia's Tear out of Sweden. Again, melody, memorable stuff, especially on the title track, Across the Shifting Abyss. Apokryphos. This is a little bit older, 2016, although he has a new one out already this year, but this is just good, dark, and moody stuff. Council of Nine, Trinity, but he's got plenty of good stuff. This is just happens to be the only one I have at this point. But everything I've heard from him is solid too. Eximia out of Slovakia, I believe. This might be the darkest album I've heard on the label. This is about alien, an advanced alien life form that just comes to Earth and just completely wipes out the human race in a matter of days. I mean, these tracks, Day One, First Contact, Prepare, Extinction, World Without Man. There is practically no melody on here. It's just all just evil, suffocating darkness, but effective for sure. Protu, I think that's how you pronounce it. It's a woman out of the Ukraine. Again, just good, that good, dark, but somewhat melodic, moody stuff. Flowers for Body Snatchers. He's out of Australia. This is Asylum Beyond. He might be one of the most talented people on the label, and I only have this album, so I really need to get Alive with Scars, but he's got pianos, he does nice arrangements. Yeah, he's very talented, so I definitely need to have more than just this CD from him. Hallgrath, a woman out of Russia. This is one of the earliest releases from the label. I think this came out in 2014. She sings a little bit on it, but for the most part, this is just, again, good, moody ambience. Yugasani, he's out of Russia. Very cold Arctic. That's his theme. Just very cold Arctic, tundra, Siberia, that type of vibe. The first track on here, White Death, is so real and creepy, but he's very effective too. Anybody that knows when this was released can tell me when I found out about the CRYO Chamber label, because when I stumbled upon it, this was being promoted as the song, as the album that was forthcoming, and the track was Buried that I saw. And I just remember seeing this album cover too and just being absolutely blown away. And by the way, I know it's probably a pain for the label to make t-shirts and posters and all that stuff, but man, if you could sell the quality prints of these for some, $3-5, and then the fans could just take the strong images and go make t-shirts or their own posters. But great artwork on that too. Ager Sonis, he's good too. This is the only release I have from him, but again, solid. Probably one of the first artists I got into when I stumbled upon the label was Metatron Omega. He has 4 albums. I have the first 3. His first album, Gnosis Day, might be my favorite, just because he's got some low spoken word on here a little bit. So I definitely dig this album the most out of the 3. But Metatron Omega, he's very, very cool. Atrium Carceri. So the Simon Heath, who runs the label, this is his main project. He also does Sabled Sun and tons of collaborations. But yeah, Metropolis, probably my favorite, although I don't have Codex, but I need to get it. And I'm thinking about getting Codex on vinyl just because the artwork is so strong on that one. Simon Heath also does probably the majority of the artwork, but again, just good, dark, mysterious. I believe these are connected in a storyline. Just very mysterious stuff. Northumbria, 2-man project out of Canada. They play bass and guitars live, obviously with tons of effects, but I believe that they do a lot of their stuff as somewhat of an improv. And I do have their first 2 albums in the computer. but this is the only physical copy I have from them. But Still Valley 1. If there's any track to listen to, Still Valley 1 is the one to listen to. It's basically, this is the third in a trilogy of albums based around when the Norse found Canada, like the Leif Erikson days. And the first people came over and discovered Canada. Another band another project that almost cracked my top 5, Ruptured World, and he's got a brand new one out. But just really cool storytelling. These stories all connect, and there's a lot of like, I guess Orson Welles spoken word in between the tracks, which is very cool. So those are some of the other artists, at least the artists that I have here. And then I'll go through these collaborations. Basically every year since 2014, almost everyone on the label at that time chips in, and they do these long form, hour-long pieces based around characters from H.P. Lovecraft. So the first one, Cthulhu, from 2014. That was a single disc. Then suddenly in 2015, it's a double disc. More artists collaborating. Azathoth. Then 2016, suddenly it becomes a 3-disc. Nyarlathotep. I'm pretty sure everyone that was on the label at that time contributed to this. Then my personal favorite so far is Yog Sothoth from 2017. Great booklet. Tons of awesome artists contributed. Kios is on here. Same thing. Shub Niguroth, book form, and then the most recent Hastur, 2-disc book form. So those are awesome collaborations with almost everyone on the label, and some people I've not even heard of chipping in. This Tomb series, I don't have the first Tomb of Empires, but Tomb of Seers is great. Xerxes the Dark, Alpha Zone, Council of 9, Wolves and Horses, all great stuff. I was impressed. This is kind of how I got into Alpha Zone, was actually through this. He's collaborated with Xerxes the Dark on another album that I should probably check out. And Council of 9's always solid. And Wolves and Horses, not sure who that is, but they're on here for 2 tracks. And this is, very excellent. My favorite in the series, and probably my favorite collaboration CD, is Tomb of Druids. I mean, Pro 2, Dead Melodies, Agersonus, Creation 6, and Agrius Omnia, and all of these songs are memorable. I think Agersonus's Well of Knowledge might be my favorite, but Pro 2's Eyes of the Shaman is great too, so this is a great album. Tomb of Ordeals, even more messed up. You can see on the cover, somebody's getting cooked, sacrificed. This is a crazy album. Apocryphos is on here with Nightside Ordeal. I think Asath Rayon, if I'm pronouncing that right, Urn of the Sleeper. Just very dark album, but very good, very effective. Here's another good collaboration. This is very much outer space, sci-fi, Locus Arcadia. You've got Randall Collier Ford, Flowers for Body Snatchers, Council of 9, and God Body Disconnect coming through. 4 massively long tracks for this one. Echo. This is Apocryphos, Cammerheight, and Atrium Carceri. So again, this is good stuff. Yugasani and Drani Darko combined for Arctic Gates, which is great. Yugasani already does that Arctic thing, and Drani Darko kind of puts he just puts this like sheen of effects and things on this that makes it really makes the story come to life as to what exactly is under the ice at the, way up by the North Pole. Pro 2 and Hilliard. Hilliard's actually from the US. Just a good album with the field recording thing going on. Great album cover too. So nice album. And then just the last thing I have are these sort of like little promo compilations of samplers. This one's from 2016, 2017, and 2018. Those are the 3 that I have. So, and then if I didn't mention it, Miles to Midnight is also a collaboration. Atrium Carceri, City's Last Broadcast and God Body Disconnect. You know, dark noir. Very cool. So there you have it. That's a little rundown of the label. It's certainly a rundown of the stuff I have in my collection at this point, but there are things coming out every couple of weeks, it seems. So hopefully you enjoyed this. Hopefully it was fairly informative, and so thank you. Thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye.